Imagine a quiet night in the old desert, where the starry sky extends like a cloak of silent promises. The soft wind caresses the golden dunes, bringing the distant murmur from a stream hidden between the stones. It is a night when silence is not empty, but full of the serene presence of the Creator, who watches over each soul with a tender and infinite care. Like the bird that finds shelter in the shadows of the high rocks, we are invited to rest under the wings of the Most High, where the protective shadow surrounds us and peace transcends all understanding. Psalm 91 whispers words of hope, an invitation to deep trust where anxiety dissolves and the heart rests safely. Tonight, allow the comfort of these words between gently in your mind, like the moon's smooth shine bathing the desert, bringing calm to the restless spirit. Let each verse be a kind breeze, leading you to a renewing rest, wrapped in the faithful love of God. Take a deep breath, deliver your thoughts to God, and allow your peace to guide your dreams. In the heart of the ancient Holy Land, amid the rough and silent landscapes of the desert, Psalm 91 is born as a melody of protection and hope. Its author, although not explicitly identified, invites us to imagine a time when vulnerability was constant, dark nights without electric light, uncertain paths between rocks and shadows, dangers that were around night. In this scenario, trust in God was not just comfort, but vital need. Visualize a simple tent up the sand, its linen curtains shaking gently at the rhythm of the warm wind. Inside her, a tired traveler rests, her hands intertwined in silent prayer, as the sky is bound by sparkling stars. He knows the protection stories that the Lord has granted to his faithful reports of angels who keep, of shadows that move evil from the certainty of a safe refuge, even when the dangers are invisible to the eyes. Psalm 91 opens the doors of this deep confidence. He who dwells in the hideout of the Most High, in the shadow of the Omnipotent, will rest. The word dwelling evokes not only a physical abode, but a spiritual intimacy, an invitation to reside in the divine presence, where fear dissolves and the soul finds rest. The shadow of the Omnipotent is like an invisible cloak that covers, protects, and cherishes. In the words of this psalm, we hear the wind of the wind that passes between the olive trees, the soft warmth of the sun that sets on the horizon, and the freshness of the night that comes to embrace the earth. It is an environment where the natural and the spiritual intertwine in perfect harmony. Each verse is a promise that echoes through the story, reaching us with the same force, the same comfort. Over the centuries, Psalm 91 has been recited as an invisible shield, a prayer of protection against visible and invisible dangers. He will deliver you from the lace of the bird and the pernicious plague, images that evoke hidden traps, silent threats, and the certainty that no harm can touch those who are under the care of the Lord. In the silence of the night, when thoughts wander and the heart is restless, this message becomes a safe haven. Think of the whisper of the leaves in the trees and the distant corner of an owl, symbols of the mystery of the night that can awaken fear, but which become signs of divine vigilance here. What could be a source of fear becomes a testimony of God's attentive presence. In this scenario, the psalm's reader or listener is invited to pause, to abandon the rush and anxiety of the day, to find a spiritual address in the Most High. Poetic and symbolic language not only describes physical protection, but reveals an emotional and spiritual refuge, where confidence is not mere hope, but certainty. By imagining this environment, we feel the texture of the tissue fabric, the mild temperature of the desert night, the aroma of the dry earth mixed with the perfume of the native plants. Everything invites a reverent silence, a moment of surrender and peace. It is in this space that the psalmist calls us to rest, to inhabit the security of the Most High, to experience the peace that exceeds all understanding. The depth of Psalm 91 lies in its simplicity and its eternal truth, the promise that God is a safe refuge in all circumstances. He is not just a distant God, but an active presence, a protection shadow, a shield that supports, an angel who watches over his children. While this imaginary night unfolds, The reader can recognize himself as that traveler who finds shelter, who rests in the shadow of divine protection, safe even in the face of the adversities of life. This intimacy with God is the center of the message, an invitation to transform faith into living experience, especially in the hours of silence and rest. As the psalm continues, we see the promise of liberation and deliverance. He will cover you with your penalties, and under your wings you will be safe. This smooth and maternal image, so comforting, connects us to the idea of care and protection that does not know boundaries. It is the tenderness of the Father who watches over his creation, who welcomes every fear, every doubt, and transforms into serenity. By ending this first block, the atmosphere that permeates Psalm 91 is clear, an invitation to intimacy with God, an invitation to inhabit his protection as who finds rest on his Father's safe lap, an invitation to leave the worries of the outside world and enter into a sacred space of peace and trust. This space is always available to those seeking it, especially at times when the body asks for rest and the spirit yearns for safety. In the silence of the night, under the robe of the stars, the invitation remains. Come, dwell, trust. As we deepen in Psalm 91, we are invited to dive into the experience of faith that transforms fear into serene trust. The night, once the scene of the unknown, becomes a scenario where fear loses space to the certainty of divine protection. It is like walking through a dark valley, but not feeling danger, because the light of the Lord is like a headlight that guides the hesitating steps. Imagine the traveler of the desert tent, now wrapped in the darkness of the night, surrounded by the silent sounds of life that pulses around, the light rustle of the leaves, the murmur distant from a stream, the fresh touch of the air over the tired skin. In this environment, the natural vulnerability of the human being shows itself, but also an invisible force, a spiritual shield that repels fear and renews hope. The faith mentioned in the psalm is a firm anchor that keeps us stable before the storms of life. When we read, "You will not fear the terror of the night, nor the arrow that flies by day," the word fear appears as an enemy overcome by trust in God. This night terror symbolizes not only real dangers, but also the internal anxieties that haunt us in the hours of silence. The fear that paralyzes the heart is undone by the loving presence of the Most High. Faith, then, is not a vague feeling, but a concrete experience. An act of surrender that chooses to believe in God's faithfulness, even when circumstances point to the opposite. It is the certainty that 1,000 will fall beside you, and 10,000 to your right, but you will not be reached. Feel the texture of this promise, like a breeze that gently touches the face, a warm heat that fills the chest. It is the security that is born of intimacy with God, from the certainty that his powerful hand keeps us, even when the world seems to crumble. The psalm also tells us of the angel that God has designated to keep us in all our ways. We can imagine these heavenly messengers as serene figures, wrapped in smooth light, who accompany each step, removing danger with silent and constant protection. They are a tangible reminder of divine care that never fails. In this view, the dark night is no longer a territory of loneliness, but an environment inhabited by the loving presence of the Lord and his angels. The distant sound of the night animals, which could cause restlessness, becomes a background song that packs the peaceful sleep of those who rest in the faith. Reflecting on this verse invites us to abandon the restlessness and anxiety that so often settle in the heart. It is an invitation to close your eyes to the imagined dangers and open the spirit to the real, present, and constant protection. Like the traveler who settles in his bed, wrapped in hot cloaks, we can choose to rest under the protective wings of God. The psalmist's confidence is deep and comprehensive. It does not ignore the dangers, but states that even in the midst of them, divine protection is unbeatable. No harm will happen to you. No pest will come to your tent. A statement that resonates like an invisible wall that surrounds those who trust in the Most High. Upon hearing these words, the soul warms up with a sense of security that transcends external circumstances. It is the certainty that life can bring challenges, but divine care remains firm, unchanging, and constant. This confidence translates into a call to active faith, an invitation to inhabit the hideout of the Most High, becoming a permanent address in the presence of God, not just a temporary passage, but a continuous experience, a spiritual lifestyle that colors every moment with the certainty of divine protection. Think of the soft heat that the firelight offers on the cold night, a light that drives the shadows away and welcomes the traveler. Such is the presence of God in our lives, a warmth that welcomes, protects, and calms. Fear does not magically disappear, but is overcome by the daily choice of trusting God, giving up anxiety, and giving life into His hands. This surrender is not weakness, but deep strength, rooted in the faith that knows it is not alone. Psalm 91 also reminds us that God is with us in all situations, whether in the fight against diseases, financial problems, personal conflicts, or internal insecurities. At each moment, it is a safe haven, an unshakable fortress. In internalizing this message, we feel an invitation to experience the peace that comes from full confidence, a peace that does not depend on the absence of problems, but on the constant presence of the Creator. This experience transforms the night into a sacred moment where rest is not only physical, but spiritual. The heart rests on God, and the soul finds serenity to renew its strength. In silence, the certainty of divine protection packs thoughts and leads to a deep and restorative sleep, preparing the spirit to face the new day with renewed courage and hope. As we remain immersed in Psalm 91, we are invited to deepen the understanding of divine protection, realizing that it is not just a passive defense, but active, constant, and full of love. The confidence described here is like a source that does not dry, a light that never goes out, a refuge that is never invaded. Visualize the traveler again on the tent, now wrapped in the calm of the night. The sky above is a vast rug of stars, each as a silent testimony of the faithfulness of the Most High. The fresh breeze carries the aroma of the desert herbs and the distant sound of animals that move discreetly between the stones. At this point, the heart calms down, for the promise of protection becomes real, palpable. The psalm proceeds, revealing that He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will be safe. This image is full of tenderness. Imagine a bird taking care of your puppies, wrapping them with their wings, protecting them from the wind and the rain. So God takes care of us, with a protection that is not rigid or oppressive, but welcoming, full of love and delicacy. To feel under the feathers of the Lord is to experience care that welcomes our weaknesses, which understands our doubts, fears, and tiredness. It is a protection that respects our time and limits, which does not require perfection, but offers safety and acceptance. This protection extends beyond the night, covering every time and situations of life. The psalmist continues, "No harm will happen to you, no plague will come to your tent." This statement reminds us that divine protection is a reality that transcends natural dangers, physical and spiritual evils. It is a promise that embraces the whole being. As we reflect on this, we feel a deep peace, like a calm river that runs gently, feeding the dry earth and bringing life. This peace is born of the certainty that even in the face of difficulties, we are not alone. We are kept by the one who is powerful to protect and save. The psalm also speaks of the deliverance. He will deliver you from the bird's tie. We can imagine this invisible, subtle trap that tries to arrest the heart and mind in fear, anxiety, or despair. Divine protection frees us from these traps, offering freedom to live with courage and hope. This liberation is accompanied by an invitation. We will cry out, and He will serve us. Communication with God is a two-way road, a dialogue of love. We are not only passively protected, we are called to come into communion, to express our fears, to trust that He hears and responds. Imagine the traveler lifting his hands to the sky, his words floating in the night as a sincere prayer. In response, a soft breeze seems to caress his face, a silent sign of the loving presence that comforts and strengthens. Psalm 91 is therefore an invitation to active faith that recognizes God's presence at all times, especially in difficulties. It is not a promise of absence of problems, but the guarantee that even among them, divine protection and care never abandon us. Langura of days, I will break it, and I will show you my salvation. This final promise is a call to eternal hope, a look that goes beyond the boundaries of present life and reaches eternity. It is the certainty that, living in the presence of the Most High, we will experience the fullness of life, not only in the temporal dimension, but also in the spiritual. In internalizing this message, we are invited to live more smoothly, confident that God's love keeps us day and night. This confidence allows us to face the unknown without fear, for we know that our lives are in their powerful hands. While the night advances, the traveler on the tent rests deeply, packed by this certainty. The silence around it is not empty, but full of the divine presence that transforms darkness into serene light. Each heartbeat is a reminder of constant care and peace that exceeds all understanding. This experience can also be ours. In moments of restlessness or tiredness, we can go back to Psalm 91 as a renewing source, a safe place where our souls find rest and renewal. By closing our eyes to rest, that we can feel the protection of divine wings surrounding ourselves, the promise of deliverance driving away the invisible dangers, and the certainty that even in darkness we are never helpless. Thus, the journey of faith, fear, and trust becomes a delicate dance, where we learn to trust more, to fear less, and to live in deep communion with the God who keeps us. As the night deepens, Psalm 91 leads us to an even deeper understanding of God's constant presence in our lives. The protection of the Most High is not an isolated or circumstantial event, but a continuous reality, a truth that embraces every moment, every breath. Imagine the traveler again on the tent. Now there is a fine light that emanates not from a fire, but of an invisible presence, an aura of peace that fills the space, dissipating the shadows of doubt and fear. It is the presence of God, which not only protects, but transforms, bringing serenity and courage to the restless heart. For to your angels will give order to you, to keep you in all your ways. This promise reveals a thorough care, a zeal that follows each step, every choice, every moment of our journey. Angels, messengers of divine protection, not only watch over, but walk with us, silent and attentive, keeping us from the visible and invisible dangers. Feel the light wave of this security, as an invisible cloak that covers the body and soul, protecting against the storms that life can bring. It is a protection that allows us to advance, even when the path seems uncertain, because we know that we are not alone. This constant presence is an invitation for full delivery, to trust without reservation. The psalmist assures us that not only with your eyes will you contemplate, and you will see the reward of the wicked. We do not need to carry the burden of fear or anxiety, because the Lord is in control, and His righteousness will manifest at the right time. Here we find a message of hope and divine justice, which encourages us to remain firm in faith, even when evil seems to prosper around us. God's protection is also a shield against despair, a promise that the truth and good will prevail. For you, O Lord, are my refuge. These words are the pulsating heart of the psalm. God is not just a distant idea, but a real and present refuge, a safe place where we can run in search of protection and comfort. This refuge is personal and intimate, a home where the heart finds rest. The dark night, which could be a symbol of loneliness and fear, becomes a scenario of communion and peace. The traveler feels welcomed, protected, and loved. This experience is an invitation so that we can also dwell in this refuge, not only in times of difficulty, but in every moment of life. The psalm concludes with the divine promise, I will deliver him, for he takes refuge in me. I will protect him, for he knows my name. This reciprocity between God and the faithful is the basis of the protection it transforms. Knowing the name of the Lord is more than knowing your identity. It is having a relationship of trust, love, and delivery. It is this delivery that allows us to experience true rest. We know that even when the challenges come, God's hand is extended to lift us. Your love is a non-failed shield. While night follows its course, the silence around is filled with the certainty that divine protection knows no limits. The traveler falls asleep quietly, wrapped in a peace that transcends human understanding. We can imagine this peace also involving our mind and heart, leading us to a deep and restorative sleep, where dreams are stored by the careful hand of the Most High. This experience strengthens us for the coming day, renewing our faith and courage to face the situations that life presents. Psalm 91 is not just a prayer for moments of fear, but a hymn to life lived in God's constant presence. May this night be an invitation to all of us, so that we will give our anxieties, so that we may fully trust the protection that only the Most High can offer. As He rests under His wings, we will find not only shelter, but also strength, courage, and hope to continue the journey. Today, even living in times of advanced technology, illuminated and busy cities, many still face the restlessness that comes from uncertainty and fear. The modern world, with its speed and complexity, can be as challenging as the ancient desert where Psalm 91 was born. However, the message of this psalm remains as relevant and powerful as it was thousands of years. Imagine yourself in a quiet room, maybe now, while listening to these words. Outside, the distant noise of the city, the lights that shine out the window, the rapid pace of modern life. But here, within this space, there is an invitation to slow down, to dwell in the hideout of the Most High, even in the midst of chaos. The protection described in Psalm 91 is not only for moments of physical danger, but also for the invisible threats that haunt the spirit today, the fear of the future, the anxiety for news that arrive, the constant pressure from responsibilities. These base ties can be subtle, holding the heart without realizing it. However, the divine invitation remains. To dwell in the hideout of the Most High is to find a place where anxiety loses its power. It is an invitation to live an active faith that translates into inner peace, even when everything around it seems unstable. Imagine the shadow of the Omnipotent as a constant presence, an invisible force that covers and protects during the difficult times of everyday life, in complex decisions of work, in health concerns, family relationships. This shadow reminds us that we don't walk alone. In the modern rush, we often forget to seek this refuge. Screens, notifications, and demands pull us away from the stillness needed to hear the smooth voice of the Most High. But Psalm 91 calls us to return to sacred silence, where faith and trust renew the spirit. As we take a deep breath and give our concerns to God, we are invited to feel the same peace that involved the traveler on the desert tent. The murmur of water, the wind that passes between the trees, the calm light of the moon, all these images help us connect us with the serenity that God offers. The promise that 1,000 will fall by your side and 10,000 to your right, but you will not be reached is a powerful reminder that despite the challenges and adversities of the world, divine protection is effective and real. We are not called to ignore difficulties, but to trust that even in them, God is with us. This confidence helps us to face daily stress with a lighter heart, knowing that the vigilance of angels is upon us, guiding our steps and pushing the dangers we cannot see. As we approach sleep, with this certainty, our body and mind find deep rest. Sleep becomes a sacred moment, a delivery ritual, where we allow God to take care of us while we rest. In awakening, we carry with us the strength and serenity that come from confidence in divine protection. We can look at the day with renewed eyes, ready to act wisely in love, knowing that we are not alone. Psalm 91 reminds us that life is a journey with challenges, but also with the constant presence of a God who protects us and guides us. Faith is not just a distant belief, but a living experience that transforms every moment. Amid the pressures and uncertainties of the modern world, this message invites us to cultivate an inner space of peace, where divine protection is our refuge and fortress. May we then, each night, when closing our eyes, allow this presence to envelop us, that the comfort of the wings of the Most High hug us, and that the serenity of Psalm 91 calms our hearts. Thus we will find not only rest for the body, but renewal to the spirit, ready to live with courage and hope in every new dawn. Now, I invite you to accommodate your body comfortably, feeling the gentle weight of the rest spread through its limbs. Allow your eyes to close slowly, and your breath finds a quiet, deep pace. Get inspired calmly, filling your lungs with the peace that comes from the Lord. Exhale slowly, releasing the concerns of the day, letting the inner silence deepen. Visualize yourself once again under the protective shadow of the Most High, like a traveler who found shelter in a sacred tent in the desert. Feel the freshness of the soft wind caressing your skin, the distant murmur of calm waters, and the soft light of the moon that surrounds everything with serenity. Reflect on the words of Psalm 91, which now become an affectionate whisper for your heart. He who dwells in the hideout of the Most High, in the shadow of the Omnipotent will rest. Allow these words to echo within you as a balm that calms all anxiety, all restlessness. Feel protected, wrapped in the wings of the Lord, where no fear can penetrate. Imagine these wings extending on you, welcoming you in a divine hug, where peace is deep and unchanging. Mentally repeat, in His own pace, the promises of protection and deliverance. He will deliver me from the loop of the bird and the pernicious plague. He will cover me with His feathers, and under His wings I will be safe. Let each word touch your soul, filling it with confidence and security. Now, in your heart, say this silent prayer, giving your worries, your fears, and your hopes to the care of the Most High. Lord God, my refuge and fortress, thank you for your constant presence and your protection that does not fail. Tonight, I give my mind, my body, and my spirit in your safe hands. May your peace that exceed all understanding keep my heart and my thoughts, that I can rest under your wings, confident in your love and care. Feel the body relax even more, the mind too beaten, and the spirit is filled with this peace that transcends words. Remain in this state of stillness, allowing divine protection to continue to involve it by preparing it for a restorative, deep, and renewal sleep. Before you close, remember that this protection is always available, not just at night, but at every moment of your life. The Most High is your shield and your fortress, ready to keep your steps in your rest. Now, while resting, let the peace of the Lord guide your dreams and renew your strength to the new day. If this message brought you peace, strengthened your faith, or helped your sleep, consider supporting our channel, subscribing, and commenting which passage touched your heart, or which story you want to hear next time. Now close your eyes and rest under the protection of the Most High.